schedule and be off on Friday. We had a lot of responses from our survey questions from parents and staff about needing to clean midweek. So we brought that back to our teams, and it was thought that it would be best if we would clean midweek. So that's the proposal tonight, is an AB, Wednesday off AB schedule. Also, there were several parents and staff members who brought up an AABB schedule. We brought that back to our teams. They thought that instructionally it's important for us to operate on an AB schedule. So from that, we stayed with the AB schedule, but it'd be an AB Wednesday off AB schedule is what we're presenting to you all this evening. So I'm going to kind of go through that again very quickly. All preschool through K children and students with disabilities and English learners will attend Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. All students in grades 4 through 12 attend 2 days per week. Group A, Monday, Thursday, with remote learning on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Group B will attend Tuesday, Friday, with remote learning on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Phase 3 instruction will be new instruction, and it'll be graded. All students will have the option of working remotely at home for 100% of their instruction. The IEPs will be fulfilled. Students without internet will be provided take-home packets. Principals and transportation will coordinate with families to work to permit students to attend schools on the same days, and the families, the students, the same families to attend on the same days. We're going to coordinate that with our parents and our principal and our transportation department to accomplish this. Pre-K through 3 and students with disabilities and EL students, again, will have instruction Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Classes will be arranged to promote social distancing. Drop off and pickup time. Grade 4 and 5, 1/2 students will attend on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, with remote learning on Wednesday. There will be a group A that will attend Monday, Thursday, remote learning on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. A group B, Tuesday, Friday, with remote learning on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll have deep cleaning, remote learning, and teacher planning on Wednesday. And then grades 6 through 12, 1/2 of students attend school on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, with remote learning on Wednesday. Group A will be Monday, Thursday, with remote learning on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Group B, Tuesday, Friday will attend, with remote learning on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And again, deep cleaning, remote learning, and teacher planning will take place on Wednesday. One program that we did not mention thus far is our PCTC program, our Career Technical Schools program there. I have met with Mrs. Angela Wrigley and Mrs. Jessica Dalton, who are here this evening. We've spoken with Mr. Scott, Transportation, about those programs. It is our intention right now to propose to our school board this evening that those programs would meet 4 days a week. An example would be a Group A student Monday and Thursday will attend the Career Technical Center and may ride Pittsylvania County Transportation on those days. And on Tuesday and Friday, they can attend PCTC, but must provide transportation to and from PCTC. And then on Wednesday, they will have remote learning as every other child. Group B students in high school will attend school and PCTC on Tuesday and Friday. They may ride Pittsylvania County Schools Transportation. And on Monday and Thursday attend PCTC, but must provide their own transportation to and from the Career Technical Center, with remote learning on Wednesday. Teacher planning again, remote learning and deep cleaning will take place on Wednesdays. And then classes, and this is something that I've spoken to Mrs. Dalton and Mrs. Ring about, to ensure that we have social distancing, and they have assured the administration that they can assure that we have social distancing, or ensure that we have social distancing or masks when students are working within 6 feet of instructors at the Career Technical Center, and also have assured us that they can clean in between uses of the equipment. At this time, I would like to ask Mrs. Haymore if she will come forward and present part of the Return to School health plan.
Promise of social distance. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, as a reminder to everybody here and those that might be listening, participating, the Dr. Jones reference this evening are on our website for your review. What I'm going to talk about this evening very briefly is just a snapshot of a part of the Division Health Plan that I know is most definitely on everyone's minds, without a doubt. If you've had a moment to review that health plan, you will notice that it is divided into 2 sections. Section 1 is providing an overview of mitigating measures. Dr. Jones referenced several of those, and I'm going to do the same here in just a moment. The second part of that document is outlining in the event that there is a case of COVID-19 or there is an outbreak of COVID-19, which of course nobody wants. So we're focusing today on mitigating measures. In developing this document, it's been quite the undertaking, you can imagine. We had to be very reliant on resources both in our community, those provided by the Virginia Department of Education, the guidance document that Mr. Cease referenced, and really most importantly is the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC. One area that our department is focusing on that is extremely important as we talk about going back to school is training of our staff. We recognize that when our staff feels safe, when our staff feels secure, our children in turn are going to feel the same way. That breeds that security among our children. So we are anticipating from the Virginia Department of Education, but in that toolkit, among numerous committees that I sit on, that Dr. Jones sits on, they are referencing videos for staff, for children, for parents, protocols that will assist us in the building level implementation of the health plan that you currently see out on our site. We have anticipated that towards the end of July. It has not arrived as of yet. One thing that's become a new normal for all of us is physical distancing. We began our discussions around how are we going to make that happen in the schools. The 6 feet or more does apply, and as you've already heard, if that cannot be maintained, then that is when we begin to introduce other mitigating measures, such as facial coverings that you're all wearing this evening. Dr. Jones has referenced creating distancing on school buses so we can increase the numbers of children that we can actually bring into our schools, and developing strategies for food service that continues to optimize that physical distancing. Again, that is our foundational piece of the health plan and how we can help keep staff safe and students safe. We had a complementary team along with our health plan that worked with us in the area of hygiene, cleaning, and disinfecting. Of course, hand washing is something we continue to practice regularly. Minimizing the use of shared objects. This is something that we're focusing on, obviously, in the schools. And there have already been some recommendations from the CDC, from the VDOE, how we can best implement that in the buildings. And also student belongings, working to keep those separated as well. More to that end, developing a schedule of increased, rigorous, but routine cleaning and disinfection course, that's already happening now within the schools, but we know, given our state of affairs with COVID, that with our principals to implement. Cleaning and disinfecting frequently touch surfaces at least daily or in between uses as much as possible. Really applying common sense and positive proactive measures to the best of our ability. Something else that's going to change for us next year is our ability to have gatherings, visitors, and even some of our field trips are going to look very different. We will be limiting non-essential visitors to the buildings, volunteers, and activities that may involve external groups or organizations. Virtual meetings will very likely still be our primary mode of communication. Same with student assemblies, special performances, maybe even some of our spirit nights are going to look a little different next year. For large gatherings, of course, we will be following the governor's order that is in effect at the time that we return to school. Face coverings, as you have heard and you are all wearing this evening, is integral to the process of keeping is our foundation, but we know that face coverings will be worn by staff when that cannot be maintained. Students are also expected to wear face coverings in settings where, again, physical distancing cannot be maintained. This is just a short list of where that might be occurring. Certainly the bus is one, restroom, two-way traffic in the hallways, remembering that at the building level is where we are working to produce protocols to actually put the plan into place. Dr. Jones mentioned our daily health screenings. Staff at this point will be conducting those health screenings at home, and there will be a place in which results of that health screening will be documented. Students and visitors will complete screening prior to boarding the bus or upon that arrival at school. Those are also mentioned by Dr. Jones. Part of what is not currently linked on the website are a series of protocols that my department has worked with in conjunction with BDH, CDC, other folks around the division to help put this in action at the school level. Even children that have traditionally visited our clinic, when I think about a student that may have diabetes, a student that may just have a headache that day, we have already begun to talk about how to rework those clinic-based visits to ensure the safety of staff and of students. A copy of those revised processes and procedures will be linked out to the health plan. One area I did want to highlight this evening for you, though, is something that has been recommended by the CDC, which is a designated area beyond the clinic for children that may be, or staff, subject or experiencing some symptoms related to COVID. We've termed that Health Annex, and we hope that that is a room near the clinic that can continue to be monitored by staff to ensure the safety of children. And that was my last slide, and I didn't remember that. Thank you so much.
Mr. Burke, members of the school board, do you all have any questions at this time of us? I would like to, as I end my comments tonight regarding our plan, say that I've spoken with our Director of Transportation, and I've been in conversation with our principals and our directors and assistant superintendents. We believe that we need a little more time to get our bus schedules taken care of. So we would like to ask that the school board would consider this evening delaying the start date of school to August the 20th. August 20th, which is a Thursday. That would allow us to start on a Thursday, run 2 days, an A and a B group. But then if adjustments need to be made, then we can adjust over the weekend and start fresh on Monday morning. It also allows Mr. Scott and our assistant principals to look at those bus routes. In particular, if you look at the difficulty of scheduling a bus route around a high school schedule, where you have to determine how many children on a bus will come and meet in each of the classrooms for the first block, but then those children go to other classes, second block, third block, and fourth block. It's going to require that we hand schedule each of those children. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask for additional time. That would also have our teachers coming back August the 4th, but that would allow them a good 2.5 weeks to work to prepare for the protocols that we'll have in place and for them to sit down and discuss what it will actually be guidance. Once we have our teachers back, based upon the layout of the buildings, based upon their transportation, that they'll have to work out with us. So that will allow us to let them time to sit down and discuss that. So that would be a request this evening, Mr. Burton.
Board members, do you have any questions at this time?
Have we considered the pros and cons of that week versus waiting till Labor Day, after Labor Day?
If you heard what my question was, I have some constituents and some teachers that are asking for Labor Day. And now we're looking at the third week of August. When you go back on a Thursday and Friday, and I don't have a calendar in front of me, the following week we'll be in school all week, is that correct? And then we break the Labor Day?
I don't know how they come. It probably is the case.
I personally would like to see Labor Day. We went to the 17th and now we're at the 21st, and I'm requesting Labor Day. But that's just me. I wanted to throw that out for discussion.
Yes, sir. And that's a good point. We had talked about that. We believe 2 weeks or so after Labor Day, we look at some things like the 990 clock hour requirement, the 180-day clock hour requirement, the 180-day requirement. We also look at staff contracts and whether or not we're going to have to extend the school year at the end of the school. Those are all factors that we're considering as we say we need to start with 20th. We start after Labor Day, and that's going to have us ending school in June next year with a shortened summer to come back on August the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. And those are some of the concerns that we have. And we think that we are ready. We can be ready on the 20th with all that Mr. Scott he's looked at, his principals are working on, and he feels good that we can start with the 20th. I would say that I'd recommend that we begin on August the 20th.
When we get to the parts, in the agenda where we would go on, we would have further discussion now.
What's your response? I'm sorry.
When we get to the time that we vote on it, we would have further discussion on that if we wish to.
Okay.
Have to make a motion, open the discussion. Dave?
Yes, I do have some other items on the line. Okay, if I can move forward. Yes, sir. I'd like to let you all know that we have tuition students every year. I report the number of tuition students. At this point, we have 120 tuition students. We have 28 new students, and we have several that through the review process, we have denied the access. So we feel very good about the number of tuition students that we have for this upcoming year. Under FOIA, please be reminded that FOIA training is really required. We participated last year, but the law says that you must have training after July 1st of 2020. And then you do that every 2 years. If you look at your LinkedIn, on the website, there's a link there for you to go to the actual training document. Once you complete it, you'll receive a certificate there. Please keep that for your records.
Is this something we will need to do individually, not what we've done before?
Yes, sir. You can do this individually at home. It takes about an hour. Remember last year we all got together? But Mr. Burke, whatever you think you'd like to do there, you can do this at home.
Maybe that board members would prefer, but it's only an hour. I'd rather just do it sometime, so. Board members, you guys, you know what we're talking about? I'm sorry.
I'm fine.
Individual. George?
Don't know yet.
We got to complete about what time, end of the year?
Yes, sir, bye.
Think about it, we'll need to make a decision at the next meeting.
Yes, sir. A few other items, Mr. Burton. Principal's meeting right on the 27th. Right now, we're trying to hold that virtually. But then upcoming VSBA conferences, there's a new chairman, board member, superintendent orientation on July the 20th. That's a virtual meeting. A conference with education, conference on education, that was canceled. That was scheduled on the 21st. The legislative advocacy conference is set for the 24th. And right now, that's a virtual conference. And then the annual convention right now is a virtual convention. That's November 18th to the 20th. I think that's all I have this evening, Mr. Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Unfinished business, we delayed appointing the delegate for the convention and alternate. I would ask the board to agree to accept the volunteers. Kevin Mills as alternate, Mr. Kevin Mills as delegate, and Ms. Trump as alternate. Any objections to that? Thank y'all for agreeing to serve. Can we get a motion to approve that?
Make a motion.
Ms. Henderson made a motion, Mr. Moon second, roll call.
Mr. Burton,
Aye.
Ms. Crump, Mr. Dawes is absent, Mr. Henderson,
Aye.
Mr. Mills, Mr. Moon, and Mr. Ramsey is absent.
All right. Budget summary request. Ms. Worthing, you got a couple items for us?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, school board members, staff, and guests. I want to briefly go over the 1920 revenue expenditure and fund balance report that you had in your packets. You will notice that our revenues came in as expected. We are happy to report that we did not have any loss in sales tax or lottery funds for fiscal year 20. And of course, we are still monitoring that for the new year. We did receive sales tax. We'll receive it actually tomorrow for the month of, this is July, so it was from May. It is down a little bit from what we were bringing in May and June, but it still looks pretty good. So if that stays on course, we should be looking good for the 21 year as well. You will notice that we have had a cash balance of $3.7 million at the end of June 30, 2020. And I'm not going to go through all of the programs, but you will see listed in your report there were a lot of grants or certain programs where the money is specific to that program. We'll carry that forward. We have that every year. We'll carry that forward to the new year and use that on those programs. You'll notice we have textbook funds, about $715,000. And that is the money that we brought in the 20 fiscal year. But that is not enough money to do a textbook, to adopt a textbook for a subject. So we have to carry that over. And that just grows for a couple of years. Then we'll have adoptions and we'll start over. We have quite a number of maintenance projects. I listed the large projects. The drain field and wastewater expansion at Kentuck, the chiller at Tunstall Middle School, the Stony Mill roof, which should be coming near completion. Dr. Early, am I right on that? Okay. And then there were some ongoing maintenance projects. They were lumped together for about $300,000. And just briefly, that is an alarm system. I believe that's now going to be at Tunstall Middle School. All 4 middle schools, the alarm systems are outdated, as well as Roswell Elementary. so they can no longer be repaired. So what we're doing, or the plan for that, is to go ahead and put a new system in, take that old system, we will keep it, and we will use those parts in case one of the other schools breaks down before we can replace that. Security for the school board office and the ECC. I think there are last buildings that do not have the card swipes for the doors or the intercoms, so there's money for that. Paving at a number of schools, sidewalk repair at several schools, air conditioning for the robotics at PCTC, relocating the lights out here on 29 at Chatham Middle School, replacing some windows at Gretna Elementary in Twin Springs, and then sealing the gym walls at 2 of our high schools. And then the last amount in our carryover is called COVID-19 expenditures for fiscal year 21. So we did have some savings this past fiscal year. We had savings in substitutes, we had savings in utilities, we had savings in fuel, and we have asked the Board of Supervisors to allow us to carry that money over into the next school year for a lot of the unexpected expenditures that we've already started, obviously, purchasing for the masks, the protective clothing, the shields, the thermometers, the list goes on. So hopefully next week at their board meeting, they will approve that. So are there any questions on year end? Our staff worked very hard. I think that, or I hope that you'll be pleased with the product that we have presented to you tonight. I think it worked out very good for our school system moving forward in unknown times. One of our biggest unknowns for next year is going to be ADM.
I have a question not really related to this. You may not know the answer. What I've read and heard, the state revenues are not off as much as they expected. Is that correct?
From what we have seen, that is correct.
Okay. But they're still holding some money back to see.
They still have unallotted money. So far they are not releasing that to us. We may find out in August. But even at that, some of the money that's unallotted to us right now, that would still be affected if our ADM is drastically reduced.
Can you tell me the amount of that unallotted money? Roughly?
It's well over $1 million. $1 million.
$1 million, okay.
Maybe 1.3 in that vicinity.
Okay. We've already taken action on this, correct?
No, you need to actually approve this report and the carryover and approve presenting it to the Board of Supervisors.
Do we have that motion? I'll make the motion. Very much. Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Aye. Mr. Dawes is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey is absent.
Just stay that long. Do we have a motion to accept the budget and transfer the amendments? I'll make that motion. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Aye. Mr. Dawes is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey is absent.
The next item is a motion to approve amendments to the 2021 with categorical adjustments for submission to the Board of Supervisors. I'll make that motion. Any discussion on that? Roll call.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Aye. Mr. Dawes is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey is absent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing we need to a motion for the employer health savings account initial deposit. Can I have a motion for that?
I'll second it.
Now, second. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Aye. Mr. Dawes is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Approval of community eligibility provision, CEP option. Have a motion for that? Second. Mr. Moon, any discussion on that?
We have to share some information on that. We have to share some information regarding what that is. Not what we,
That would be the time, yes.
are we, is she, yes, awesome. I would like for Scott to share
That's
that
not,
information.
yeah, this would be the time. Scott?
Ms. Cronky just want me to share what I presented in the desk report with everyone. For the 2021 school year, the school nutrition program requests the board's approval for all schools in the division to participate in the USDA's community eligibility provision, a federally funded meal reimbursement option for schools in low-income areas. In a CEP school, all enrolled students receive breakfast and lunch at no charge. Each school's eligibility is determined by its identified student percentage, and that's the percentage of its students' population who are directly certified. Students who are directly certified are those who live in households that receive SNAP benefits, TANF benefits, or Medicaid benefits. In order to participate, the CEP requires that schools have an ISP, that's the number of students directly certified, of 40% or higher. And although 40% is the participation threshold, it is ideal for schools to have an ISP of 50% or greater in order for the school nutrition program to receive the highest reimbursement rate. Reimbursement is based on a formula so that the higher the poverty percentage, the higher the reimbursement. Our number of students who are directly certified this year increased notably compared to last year. We had the Department of Social Services and the Virginia Department of Education have a new DC matching process that started in January. And additionally, the environment surrounding COVID increased those numbers also. Let's see. The COVID-19 pandemic has shifted our traditional way of operating. The anticipation of limited on-site attendance next year and many other variables may result in a decrease in our participation. However, implementing the CEP under which all students are treated the same and no families will have to pay for their meals may encourage students from all socioeconomic levels to participate in school meals. Additional benefits of implementing CEP include doing away with the need for families to submit meal applications, simplification in the counting and claiming of meals served, and the elimination of meal charges so that cafeteria managers are no longer burdened with trying to collect outstanding debt. While there is some financial uncertainty associated with operating CEP, at our current ISP of 48% instead of the optimal 50%, the school nutrition program feels that any benefits of CEP will mitigate the potential risks. Thank you.
Anyone else got a question? Thank you, Ms. Scott. No other discussion? Do we have a roll call? Aye.
Who?
Mr. Moon.
Okay. All right. Aye.
Mr. Mills. Mr. Moon.
Aye.
And Mr. Ramsey's absent.
Now we get a motion to authorize.
I'll make the motion to authorize the security equipment, the grant.
Second. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burton.
Aye.
Ms. Crump. Mr. Doss is absent. Mr. Henderson.
Aye.
Mr. Mills. Mr. Moon.
Aye.
And Mr. Ramsey's absent.
Need a motion to approve membership of the 2021 sick leave bank committee.
I'll second it.
Moves that. Any discussion on that one? Do we have a roll call?
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Dawes is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
And Mr. Ramsey is absent.
Need a motion to approve with the, on the first reading, revision of school board policy JB8.
I'll make that motion, do I move?
Sanders, I second.
Any discussion on that item? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Dawes is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
And Mr. Ramsey is absent.
And installation of new bus charging station, motion to approve right of way agreement.
Sanders, I make that motion.
Second, George. Yeah.
George, second. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Dawes is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
And Mr. Ramsey is absent.
We have a motion to approve revisions to the teacher principal evaluation forms.
Make a motion.
Anderson made a motion. Move second. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Dawes is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
And Mr. Ramsey is absent.
Now we come to the part where we're going to approve or disapprove school plan corrective plans. This time, we have some speakers to sign up. I'll ask clerk to call their names, let them come forward. Remember, we're limited to 3 minutes. And we'll take the information that needs to be answered and get somebody to get back to the item. And since people came in late after these people have spoken, if you wish to, just keep in mind that the policy would have a limited comments of 3 minutes.
Next, Mr. Norton.
I'm Leslie Norton. I am a parent of 2 children in Pittsylvania County Schools. First off, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing us to move the parent comment to after we heard what Dr. Jones and the others had to say. I appreciate it greatly because there have been a lot of questions. I'm the admin of a mom group on Facebook. It's teachers, it's moms, it's about 1,500 of us, mostly from Danville, Pittsylvania County area. As we know with social media, things tend to get engulfed in flames rather quickly, and we needed some concrete answers, and you did provide some today, Dr. Jones, and we appreciate that. However, I'm concerned with the things that were not detailed with this plan. And I hate to speak for others, but I am speaking for others. There are questions that we would like the board to consider before approving this plan. We feel like there needs to be a little bit more time spent to answer questions that are vitally important. One thing, maybe the primary thing is, do we know how many students are going to be virtual and how many students are going to be in the classroom? Have teachers been given this same option? There's a lot of teachers that are very concerned, high risk, and while they miss their children, they're scared, and rightfully so. The survey that you all sent out, I think 5-6 weeks ago, was great, very appreciated, and I think we all answered that honestly. Unfortunately, at this point, our numbers for COVID-19 cases in our health district are up to 306. Back when we did the survey, we weren't even at 100. Things have changed, and parents' opinions of what they're going to do have changed. The problem is when we have a choice of virtual or the hybrid plan, we can't make it until we know exactly what distance learning is going to look like. There are many, many questions that I have and that I have been asked to convey. I don't have time for all those. It would probably be 3 hours instead of 3 minutes. I would be happy to email you all with a compiled list of the questions, and I understand there's a chance. Hopefully you can answer a lot of those, but the ones that we can't, we feel like that we need a little bit more parent input, a little bit more teacher input, possibly in the form of another survey at this point, so we can reassess where we are. My mind has changed daily since last week. And I just don't feel like I have enough information as a parent, a working parent, to decide between distance learning or the hybrid plan. Another thing that was brought up was the child care costs that working parents are going to have to face. We learned that children of teachers of Pittsylvania County are going to get to attend class 4 days a week. Now, I had 3 teachers from 3 different schools, 4 teachers, 4 different schools. 2 attended what happened, the meeting last week that was optional. I believe you gave that, Dr. Jones, and 2 did not. All 4 of them have a different understanding of what distance learning is going to look like. We need to know. As parents, we have to know. The teachers deserve to know. Of the 4 different scenarios, they each pose numerous questions. But until we know exactly what it is, we won't be able to ask the questions needed. The end of last year was disastrous for some of us. The teachers were great. They were pushed to do what they needed to do. As parents, did not navigate through it as well because we're not educators.
Need to wrap it up, please.
I'm sorry.
Need to wrap it up.
Okay. We need more information about distance learning. We need to know about the children of teachers being able to go to school 4 days a week, and if that's going to provide them with more opportunity than students that aren't. We need to know who is actually going to be in schools and who is not, because of the numbers and how it will affect everything. If you survey and find that we only have a certain amount of in school, we may be able to look at this all completely different. I just think there's a lot. I would ask for the school board to table this right now until we got some more answers. And like I said, I'd be happy to email the question list. And it's pretty lengthy. In closing, this is not about making anybody happy. We know that's not going to happen. That's unreasonable. It's about our students, our teachers, our staff, our parents, and doing what is best collectively for all of them and the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I forgot to mention that Ms. Haymore is a timekeeper. If she raises her hand, you got 30 seconds left. Next.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you guys for having us and opening the floor for parent comments. Not going to be as structured with my questions and concerns. My name is Sadie Herndon. I'm a parent of a rising middle schooler in Pittsylvania County and a member of the local medical clinical community. Some of my major concerns, and concerns that I've spoken with other family members and parents and things in the community. First and foremost, the American Academy of Pediatrics recently released an article talking about distance learning and how it affects children's mental health, their emotional health, their home stability, their routine stability, like their regimens, how that negatively affects them, and keeping them home longer, I personally believe is negatively affecting them. Seeing it on a daily basis, seeing the effects on the children on a daily basis of how being isolated affects them mentally, emotionally. Those things are huge concerns of mine, being single parent of a single child. Not being allowed to be with friends, not being allowed to do activities, not being allowed to socially interact with other children like they need is a major concern of mine and other parents in the community. I'm really concerned about the distance learning and how it will affect our children at home who are primarily kept by elderly family members, elderly guardians who are not up to date on telecommunications and distance learning and electronics. The concerns in our Pittsylvania County community that is really rural and not having the ability to do distance learning, checking in, downloading, printing things, that's a major concern of mine. How this is affecting the teachers. They're going to be spending all day cleaning, washing up after everybody, making sure everybody's got a mask on, making sure everybody's distant from each other. I think that's going to seriously affect their time in teaching and delaying all of the educational criteria that they're going to have to meet. Our SOL is going to be removed in the state of Virginia. Is that learning going to be stopped? Is that learning going to be delayed? Are they going to continue with the SOLs? Because all that information last year was, pushed at a force and speed that some kids just can't keep up with. How are you guys going to deal with children that have been exposed to positive cases of COVID? If they're not reporting it to the schools, how are you going to handle that? With the false positives, with the numbers going up because more people have the availability to get tested, how is that going to be handled? And is there any way for the parent community to be way more involved in the school board decision making? How is that open to us? It's just a lot. It's really overwhelming, especially me personally as a single parent, and trying to make sure that my child is going to develop socially and intellectually, along with thousands of other questions.
Thank you.
But I appreciate your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is April Dabbs. I have one student in Pittsylvania County Schools, and I have a nephew that is in Pittsylvania County Schools. I guess my job now would be to reiterate what the other parents have already said, the questions and concerns of the unfairness of the distance learning of the rural areas, the people who don't have internet access, the children who don't have parents at home to teach them. And how we are judging at-risk students versus non-at-risk students. The comment was made earlier, at-risk students get more learning than non-at-risk students, if that makes any sense. My son is special needs, and he was not deemed at risk until he was older. And then when things kind of hit the fan and we had to really fight for the IEP and get everything coordinated, it was really hard. And how is the distance learning going to affect his IEP, his mindset as far as being with other students, his mindset as far as how he's going to communicate with his peers. I'm not good at talking. I do apologize. This is my first time talking in front of a big group of people. My biggest concerns is, like I said, the internet access to these kids who live out in these rural areas, the parents who are not able to help their students, the parents who have to work, the childcare needs, with the teachers being able to take their kids to school. What is the advantage of the learning that they're getting versus other students? What about governor's school, AET? I didn't hear those particular schools mentioned, and I know there are other parents here that are concerned about those schools and how that will function and how that will work. If one child comes in with coronavirus, how are we going, what is that going to look like for us? We need a plan to give to parents on what that's going to look like. I know we haven't, I'm not the one to say this is the plan and this is what we need to do, but it needs to be a plan put in place. There needs to be something in place that parents can say, okay, this is what has happened, this is what we're going to do, and we know the school is going to stick by it and stand up for our students and protect them when the parents cannot do anything about it, when the parents cannot be there with their kids at the school to protect them. We need confirmation from the school that they're going to do their best ability to educate their students, whether it be digital or in school learning. I feel like it's a mess. I feel like I know what I'm saying is a mess because I'm not used to speaking in front of people, but I feel like it's not a plan that is ready to be put into action yet. There are things that are good about it. There are things that need to be worked on, and I think the parents need more involvement. I think more parents need to get involved in what's going on. I think it needs to be broadcast a little louder what's going on in the school so that we can get all these parents in here and have their opinions read in front of the board so that it's not so many negative opinions going on, if that makes any sense. Like I said, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's the only ones we had signed up earlier. Now, if anyone came in late, who wishes to speak and has something different to say, now would be the time to come forward and we'll listen to them. You got any general comments you want to make before we move forward?
Yes, sir, Mr. Burton, if I can. Thank you very much. We agree with our parents on this is all new to all of us. I would like to tell the parents that we do have a very good plan that we developed. It would take us too much time to go through each of the different sub-plans that we have that you all have questioned this evening about what do you do if a child has COVID. We've got a process in place. We've worked with the CDC, the Virginia Department of Health, on those plans as well as the State Department. They provide guidance to us. The governor tells us that we're in phase 3. And in phase 3, the governor says that all children can come back to school. He says they can do that as long as we practice social distancing of 6 feet. And our principals have gone into our buildings and they have ensured that each classroom, kids can sit in desks and be 6 feet apart. So we've done that. We're also going to ask, also the governor says that if a child, then we should be fine. And that's information that he's receiving from, again, the CDC, the Virginia Department of Health. And someone mentioned the importance of children coming back to school. I think I heard that in all 3 of our parents' comments. Our students need to be back in school. They need that. We heard that in the opportunities that we provided this summer. 2 different times we engaged parents. And that's what we heard from parents. Our children, our first plan was a plan that involved our younger kids coming back, but our older kids only coming back 1 day a week. Well, our parents of older children said those children need to be back more than that. They need to have contact with their teachers. They need to have contact with their peers. They need to get back to some type of sense of normalcy. They need that for their social and emotional well-being. From that, we established the Social Emotional Wellness Committee that Mrs. Haymore chairs. We realized that's going to be a critical piece to all of this. For our children to learn well, they've got to feel secure. And we're providing that for them. What we need from parents, and parents can say, is help us support us in wearing facial coverings when they're on school buses that we'll require. Our bus drivers are going to spray the buses after each run. Each bus will have a spray container with chemicals on there that are safe for children, but that will kill viruses, and so that will be on our buses. Our custodial staff has the best products possible to clean our buildings as well. And we provided that Wednesday as a clean day so that we can clean our buildings midweek. So that should provide additional assurance that our buildings are clean and safe. What we can't do is we can't see this virus. It's invisible. So we have to do everything that we can to protect ourselves. And that means me, you, parents, children, staff members have to do what we can while we're away from school. And that's all on each one of us, is we've got to do our part to ensure our community is safe. Someone mentioned the number of cases, and the cases are on the rise, but we were in a meeting this morning with the state superintendent, and he mentioned to us there's only really one place in the state right now that they're showing concerns, and that's and the governor's. I think the governor's message this afternoon. That's the eastern part of the state. There's even thought that the western part of the state, which we're a part of that, central, south central, and western, could come back. Some school divisions are looking at maybe coming back with all their students in that part of the state, unless cases rise. So what we're looking at, based upon what we're hearing from the governor's office and from the Virginia Department of Education and the Department of Health, is that this area right now, we can do something more than areas in the Crescent, which would be around the beach area in Northern Virginia and the Richmond area can do based on cases. But we will be mindful of the governor and what his orders are. If we go back to phase 2, we will immediately go back to phase 2 in our plans too. Have all children. Well, I think phase 2, even in phase 2, it says that preschool through grade 2 or 3 children can come to school. So, even in phase 2, we can allow those younger children to come to school. And that's, someone asked about, how do we determine which groups that we provide maybe some special opportunities for. That came from the State Department in looking at particularly younger kids and reading was so important, and also our students with disabilities. It's critical for those children because if they miss a day, it's really more than a day than our regular kids. It just takes so much longer in working with those children, so we want to provide that for those kids. But we are ready to return. We have plans in place that are very detailed. We also have committees that will work between now and time our teachers come back, and then bringing our teachers back in our buildings is so important to get their input as we develop specific routines in their buildings. But I feel very good about the hard work of our staff that we've done this summer in preparing. If you look at, and I've been on many meetings with superintendents across the state virtually. That's the beauty of what we've done. We've learned how to meet virtually. And we're all meeting virtually a lot here lately. But I've seen the plans that other divisions have, and our plan is very, very well thought out. Very good. So again, feel very good about it. That will be my comments this evening. I think we're ready to come back on the 20th. If something were to happen, we're amenable to changing. If we don't think we're ready, we will let the board know. But I would not be saying that this evening if I was not satisfied with the good work that we've done, that we are ready to get on August the 20th and have children in the buildings. Ms. Burke, that's all I had to say. I thank you all very much for allowing me to speak, so thank you.
One question. If a student decides to go virtual, does that mean he has to stay virtual?
No, sir. We are working out that flexibility with virtual, that they can, if they choose virtual and also they think, I want to come back to school, We'll allow that. One issue that we're going to have is we're going to have the space issue. What do we do in a classroom if our classrooms are filled and our buses are filled? So we'll have to find space so we can accommodate that if we have space available, Mr. Burton.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
This is the responsibility of local boards. Would you be willing to sort of speak to, if we are not necessarily speaking to the guidelines that they have provided, what we have to do?
Yes, ma'am. Early on, if you waited from the governor's guidance, you had to propose and develop a variance that you submit to the State Department. Since that time, they revised that to allow us to do that in our health plan. We had provided a health plan to the State Department before we enter. We have children back in our buildings. We did that for the athletes to come back and practice this summer. We provide a health plan. The process is we will develop it here, then we send it to our local health department. He reviews it, and then we send it to the State Department, and they have a copy of it. They review it. So we've already done that to get our student athletes back on in practice this summer. We will do that to have our children back in the buildings this school year. We'll also, Mrs. Petty, her instructional team will put together an instructional plan that will be presented. That's to be presented 15 days before our children come back. So that's to be presented in the next week or so to the State Department. Does that answer your questions?
I just also want to share like the responses that parents and staff have provided online that we do, so that they know we have had access to those to read through those responses. So even for the parents who decided not to speak tonight, if you shared your thoughts online through the survey, we have access to that too, to see what your concerns are.
Mr. Burton, I will say this, and someone mentioned right now the uncertainty that's there. When we come back on the 20th, if we come back on December 31st, if we're under COVID, we're going to have the same issues getting kids back. We're going to have issues of picking children up on school buses. We're going to have issues of kids coming onto our bus lanes for the first time, finding a new routine. Things that our teachers, we're just going to have to work through. Just like we do on the first day of school every year, there are issues, even though we're prepared, there are issues that arise that we have to rethink, and the next day we come back with a different plan. So I say that to our parents and our staff, that we're going to have to, as a group, remain flexible as our children return to school, because this is very different than anything that we've ever done. Very different. We've always had a playbook, and as things change, they've changed incrementally, usually from the State Department. And over time, we build those in. We usually have time to react. Every school division has been given this, and we've had just a very short amount of time to change our whole process that we've been in place. So if we were to start December 31st, I don't know that we have time in the day to replan everything that we do every day in school. But I think our plan is very good to begin school on August the 20th. But I do ask you all to be mindful that things are going to have to be flexible and fluid as we work through this first couple of days.
Could we get a motion to approve the plan in a second so we can discuss it at the board? Motion, approve it second, now discussion. Board members, this is the chance. Before we go.
What is the complete motion?
Is to accept the plan as presented.
Okay, so let me just verify this. We're going to the Plan C with the modifications that were given to us just a few minutes ago. Is that correct?
That's
and
correct.
we're looking for August the what?
20th.
August the 20th versus, so it's 3 days past what we had talked about last Thursday. We talked about the 17th. I would prefer to I would like to make a motion that we accept Plan C as presented, except I would still like to see the date of after Labor Day come into play. So that'll obviously have to have a second, but I'm okay with the plan, but I'm not okay with the day. I just think that the teachers, the staff need that extra time. You're gonna bring them back to school for 7 days, and then you're gonna go on vacation again. So if we do it after Labor Day, I'm sorry? 2 weeks, okay. I just think that the talk that I'm hearing is that they just, okay, if you give us August the 10th, we'll make it work. That's what the teachers are saying. That's what the principals are saying. But we need more time to really make it worthwhile, make it right, and not having questions. I just can't see coming back to school on the 21st and then staying for a couple of days, couple of weeks, and then going back on break and coming back. So I would just like to make an amendment to the motion that after Labor Day.
You want to have some discussion before you make the motion, you're going to make it now, so you get a second.
I'm making it now.
Any other discussion on the motion?
May I ask a question?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm going to make a few comments. The issue I have with Labor Day, George, you start then what do you do? And you first semester goes through this into January. And you extend the year out to the middle of June. Now, parents and teachers might say they'd like to have a later, but no, they're going to want to get out later in June. One of the reasons we have worked very hard to open this early is so we can finish first semester before we get out at Christmas time to finish those exams. So that having to come back and have to review. Also, I really agree with Superintendent that whenever we come back, we won't face the issues. In my first opinion, when we approve this tonight, it's going to change before we open up. Superintendent wouldn't say it, but when the governor first started this stuff, he set out rules, conditions, and whatever you did, they had to approve. The reason, in my opinion, that he has changed that, he shifted liability from his office on to the localities. So now they say they make suggestions. So when it comes time and people want to sue, they would sue the localities and not the state. The issues we're running into, and there is no good plan. There is no good plan. But it's the best plan that our staff has been able to come up with to do what we can do within the regulations that have been handed to us. I've been here for a long time, over 25 years. I have a lot of confidence in our staff, and I know that they work hard to do it, and they're going to accomplish the goals that have been set forward. I would strongly recommend that we do approve what's been forward tonight, and I know that if things change, they'll come back to us. And I greatly appreciate the people coming tonight. And speaking up, and being very polite and very concerned, and I can understand, I have grandchildren in this school system. And I'm not saying this in any fashion except you haven't told me anything that I haven't heard before. Concerns from my own family and friends and people with kids in school. That's been a good number of parents that work on these committees. They have been out talking with their neighbors and friends as they work. There's been a lot of staff members. Dr. Jones, I think, can attest to that. I attest to that. So there's been a lot of effort, a lot of long hours to come to where we are now. And the other issue with delaying, if we don't approve something tonight, then whenever we approve it, then they've got to put these plans into action. These plans have been developed, now they've got to turn to the individual buildings and do the training and get the staff up to speed on what we need to do. So if we don't approve something tonight, we won't even open on it. We might not even be able to open Labor Day, we'll wait another month. That's my comments. And we have a motion second, any other comments? Roll call.
Wait a minute, I don't think you got a second one.
Yeah.
So,
on our original motion, we did. Right. We have a motion second, correct? That's the motion we voted on, the original motion.
So the roll call vote for the original motion to approve the 2021 reopening of schools plan as presented. Mr. Burke?
Aye.
Mr. Crump? Mr. Doss is absent. Mr. Henderson?
I approve the plan, I just don't like the date. Does that make me crazy?
No, sir. No, sir. You gonna vote against it, or are you gonna abstain?
Well, we need to go back to school, no question about it, and I do think the plan is good. Obviously, I made the motion that we delay it to Labor Day. It did not get a second, so I'm all in favor of the plan as proposed.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Moon?
Aye.
And Mr. Ramsey is absent.
Thank you, folks, for your openness, and getting something done that staff work. Next item is appointing the budget committee members. I've asked Mr. Moon to serve as chairman again, Mr. Henderson. I've asked Mr. Mills to serve. Do we need to vote on that? Do I have that motion?
Make a motion that we accept the recommendation for the budget. The same.
Mr. Henderson, second. Any no discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Doss is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey is absent.
We have a recommendation for motion on the listed minus frame. I'm going to request that we do table that until after the first year with everything we got going on. Any objection to that? Okay.
Is it possible if we're technically able to, with everything that's going on, once schools reopen, even in late fall, to look at that somewhere between late fall and the beginning of the year, with that time frame, would that be okay?
All right, put it on the agenda for November. Okay. Do we need a motion for that? You make that motion then?
I make a motion that we put, if it's listed by as framing on the agenda for November for discussion. Same or
I'll second it then.
I'm going to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Doss is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey is absent.
A motion to grant permission to loan Chromebooks. Motion.
Same probably make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Doss is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey is absent.
Good. We have the motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thought we had that included in the motion. You asked again?
I'm asking both of you.
I thought it was included in the plan to open the 20th. All right. Since she doesn't, we're not sure. Can I have a motion to open school on the 20th?
Same prop, I'll make that motion to adjust the calendar to open school on
I'll second it then.
Any discussion?
What? Please, I didn't hear that.
We just verifying that we've opened on the 20th. She didn't include it in the written motion.
Instead of the 21st?
No, it's the 20th. It's always the 20th. Roll call.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Doss is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Sustained.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
And Mr. Ramsey is absent.
Now can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
I'll second.
Mills second. Before we have the roll call, I do appreciate folks coming. I don't want to take a lot of staff time, but if you folks have any questions of me, I'll be glad to speak to you. Roll call.
Mr. Burton?
Aye.
Ms. Crump? Mr. Doss is absent. Mr. Henderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Ramsey is absent.
Thank you all.